everybody. Welcome to Heal Your Shadow Relationships. I am your host, Neola Sparkus, and today we have with us wonderful coach Jonathon Aslay. He is a defender and protector of women's hearts around the world. He helps women transform from attracting Mr. Wrong into finding their Mr. Right. Jonathon is a successful entrepreneur. He's a coach. He's a speaker. He's an author of 3 books, Unlocking the Male Mind, Finding Love Online, and Why Men Pull Away, 3 Ways to Keep Him Close. Jonathon, he's like a guy spy to the male mind, and he truly understands the way a single or divorced man thinks and acts. He's a master at helping women recognize and distinguish the difference between men who are emotionally unavailable from those who are truly ready for love. So Jonathon, I'm so pleased that you could join us here today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited and I'm so grateful to be on this program. And I think the work that you're doing is fantastic. So kudos to putting this together and kudos for the wonderful work you do.
Oh, thank you so much. So we're here today talking about how to heal our shadow relationships. And
oh my God, could we ever do that? Ever heal?
Well, at least maybe you could give us a few tips on it anyway. I mean, every expert in this summit has had their unique perspective on what the shadow aspect is or what that means to you. So I'd love to hear what that term, shadow relationships, what does that mean to you?
You know, the term shadow has many meanings, but and for me in particular, I look at relationships as an opportunity to learn more about yourself and how you show up when you're partnered or coupled. And some relationships are meant to be here for forever, to go the distance, for 2 people's individual lifetimes. And some relationships have an expiration point. And what I mean by that is that they're really there to teach you some lesson you were meant to learn. And in that period of time, the real value of the relationship, besides all the goody, yummy stuff of love and kissing and making out and sex and all that good stuff, is also to heal your childhood wounds. I can speak from personal experience on this. In fact, recently I ended a serious relationship that was 3.5 years long. And let me clarify. I don't want to say I ended it because it wasn't my choice, to be honest. And why that's so important that I say that is that, she came to the realization that we had healed each other and what we were meant to learn from each other a little bit sooner than I. So I was a little bit more apprehensive. And yet, as the days beyond the breakup went on, I realized that in the healing process and the letting go, in the adjustment, in the transition from the we to the I, that, in the long run, she was right. I do know that, but it's hard to take. And so in the experience of relationships, it's really learning how to be a solid I and then couple as a we. And I think that's where most people struggle today is they don't have a really solid I. There's an expectation that the we is going to make them solid.
You are so right, yeah.
Because of that, and again, I don't use the term shadow. I just look at each relationship as a learning experience that's going to carry us on to the next. And I know where I'm sitting here today, I am preparing my I to be so strong that I can take on the we in a relationship, that I can be the holder of space for the we and for both of us to be in that space of we. But you got to be strong in your I.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and you bring up a whole number of great points. I love when you said, the relationships are really for us to grow beyond our childhood pains and our wounds and all that. And all of those wounds make us create defense mechanisms that don't let love in, and that's what I call the shadow. That's what you got to break through.
All the barriers that are blocking you.
Exactly. Now you've mentioned your relationship that you just broke up with, and the thing
can I backtrack and say the word it ended?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. And I don't want you to edit this out either because because we use that term breakup, and the truth is it ended and it's transitioning to something new. We love each other very much. We're still in contact. In fact, we're transitioning to not friendship, we're transitioning to family. Because I think that's where we would have been better. I think in a past life, we might have been family members in some way, shape, or form. And that's what we're going to transition to, that we're part of each other's family.
Oh, I love hearing that. I love hearing that people can still stay connected because obviously there was a connection and that connection lives on because love is eternal. That's
Exactly.
I must be a romantic because I believe that. So you had I read your story online on the website, and the thing that led you to study about relationships was the fact that you did have another long-term relationship. You married, and it ended in divorce. So tell us how you had been brought to the point of becoming an expert in your field.
Thank you so much. I'm very blessed. And I say that is I am following my passion in life, helping others really make better choices when it comes to love and relationships. So that's my passion. How did that all came about? I went through a divorce, was in the 12-year marriage, and we weren't right for each other. We were kids when we got married. I didn't even know myself, let alone what it meant to be a partner in a relationship. And I wasn't a good, partner or husband, if you will. So it was no wonder we were destined to fail. And after that, I still wasn't a good me, to be honest. I was a very selfish me. So what did I do? I internet dated. I internet dated vigorously. My first year after my divorce, I went on over 100 dates. In fact, in a 6-year period, I went on over 300 dates. Now, why that's so, well, that may sound like, oh my gosh, right? But why that was so important for me is a couple things. A, dating allowed me to learn about myself and learn about what I want and what I don't want. So, and really I needed all that practice. The second thing was I got to connect with women in a way I never had before because I began to listen to their stories and share their experiences. And I became fascinated with relationships. What makes relationships tick? What makes people go the distance like my parents who have been married now 63 years versus the ones that last 1 or 2 weeks and then everything in between? I'm fascinated with that. But what happened was women were reaching out saying, Jonathan, I've got this date with this guy online. Will you go online and check out his profile and tell me what you think? It's an online dating site profile. So I check out the profile. I give my 1, 2, 3, 4 of what I thought. And pretty soon I'm getting this, I'm getting on target. I'm getting inside the male mind. I'm getting inside these guys' head and how they're showing up. And the women, all these women were reaching out and saying, oh my God, you were right. You were so dead on. You should write a book about online dating. So I wrote one of my first programs, Finding Love Online. And that's how I transitioned from being an insurance broker for 20 years to now being a speaker, author, coach. I've got my Unlocking the Male Mind. And of course, my most popular program, Why Men Pull Away and How to Bring Them Close.
Oh man, I wish I had known you when I was dating. I've been happily married with my soulmate for 17 years, but I remember that time period. And like you say, you had to go through, it's amazing that you went through so many dates, but I too found that in the dating process, you just learn so much about yourself, and it's so valuable because that does help you to make so much better choices down the line. So what can you tell us about tips for people who are in that dating scene? Because all of us, and of course I talk about the shadow, so all of us have got these resistances and these blocks when it comes to opening up, and dating is so vulnerable and it can be so difficult. So tell us what you can see in some of your clients and how you help them.
I think that's a great question. Thank you so much. Lately, I've been working on the following concept, and I say concept is it's an observation I've recently had, is that I recognize people date in 3 different forms, okay? Most people date with the desire for either connection or completion. What I mean by that is, for example, men date with the desire of connection. What type of connection? Physical connection. So we kind of approach dating from that perspective. And if a woman's seeking connection, it's usually emotional connection. So the way they approach dating in the first, second, or third dates is they want to feel connected. Okay? It's one of the reasons why people rush having sex early on, or they rush emotionally, invested early on because they seek connection. Then there's the other group of people that are seeking completion. Okay, you complete me is the way they approach dating. I need someone to complete me. It might be I need someone financially, I might need someone emotionally. Whatever that need is, they expect that it's going to be filled from another person. So when you approach from those two energies, what's going to happen? You're going to attract most likely the wrong type of relationship. You're going to attract someone who's needy as well, or is only seeking connection, but nothing greater than that. So what I want to invite everyone on this program to start dating with what I call curiosity. Start dating with the energy of curiosity. And what that means is you're curious. You're just like interested. What I want to learn about them. They're interesting. I want to learn about them. Not with the intent of connection or completion, just for the intent of just seeing if the two of you are a good fit before you start moving into the connection. And that's going to be both physical and emotional. So what I coach my clients is a practice what I call passionate detached. And passionate detached means open to the adventure of dating. Open to everything. You're physically open, you're emotionally open, everything is open. And detached to an outcome. Don't get attached on where it's going. This is why people struggle, because they have an expectation, oh my God, this guy is amazing. I better not do this wrong, or I better do this, or I make myself available, or I better have sex with them right away so I don't lose them to someone else. And the story going in their head is based on a place of lack or a place of convincing someone else when you should just be curious. Now, passionate also means no walls, no guards. We men sense women that have those guards up. In fact, we can spot those bitter and jaded women like that. And guess what it's like on a date with that woman? You're sitting down, you're having a drink, and you're looking at her eyes, and then you just kind of peek up a little bit over her shoulder and past her head, and you see about 25 men that all hurt her in her past life. We can see those men coming out in your emotions, in your energy. And guess what? We're going to be labeled one of those guys the next date you go on, because we're not going to call you back.
Wow.
You have to let go of the past, and you have to let go of down the walls and the guards. Look, I'm not suggesting you give your heart to any man on a first date, but walls and guards are meant to keep people out, and no man wants to scale the walls of trust. Okay?
Wow.
I hear women talk about, he's got to earn my trust. No, trust is there. It's trustworthy acts that allow you to open your heart to a man. Not scaling the wall.
That is so profound. That is so profound. I mean, you just gave us several different concepts. I love the connection and completion don't come from those two places right away, And then this thing about the walls, I mean, that to me, of course, is the shadow. You put up the wall. So I'd love to hear if you have a specific, can you give us an example? I know you work from the perspective of helping women understand men, and this was a great insight that a man can sense and see all our past. I mean, that just made me feel so naked and vulnerable in this moment when you said that. So what would you do with a client who is a woman who you sense has these blocks or defensiveness or bitterness or hurt? Maybe she doesn't know it. Maybe she doesn't realize it, because that's the thing is that we don't really see where we're coming from. That's the shadow is kind of blind to us. How would you help her to get past those blocks? What would you say? What kind of tips would you give her to be able to be a little bit more open to intimacy?
That's a great question, and I think we have to kind of peel the onion a little bit at a time. First, I want to know what's the inner story going on, and it's usually always the same thing for most people: not good enough, not likable, wanting to be like we all have that script. Look, I have that script as well, so no one's excluded from that. And it's first starting with that inner dialogue that's going on within inside yourself, that inner script. And one of the things I do for my clients is I actually, in my soulmate signal program, I create a mantra for them that's designed to create a radio frequency, literally a frequency out there, to attract your ideal man, to attract your Mr. Right, to draw him in. And it starts with the positive affirmation of what you're seeking. So So anytime that monkey noise is going on in your head, that chatter that you're not good enough, or all men are bad, or there's no good men out there, we immediately go back to the mantra. And it's a specifically designed mantra. It's designed to hit the key areas for relationship success, which I wrote in my book, Unlocking the Male Mind. I call it the 5 C's to a successful relationship. And when we can key in on those spaces, and we're energetically, we're really holding that space, then we're going to begin to shift internally to begin to attract what we desire when we start to shift that story on the inside.
Okay, so it's for a person to become aware of what their story is, and then you design a specific mantra that is going to change that story or transform that story.
Exactly.
So that you can have a new vibe, so to speak, so that you can attract what you're looking for. And I call that connecting with your authentic self, because the shadow self is the inauthentic self, the defensive self, and then we get down to our real self. So let's see, you mentioned your book. Tell us a little bit about your other books. You mentioned the book about dating online. You mentioned the book just now about unlocking the male mind, which I'm sure a lot of women out there are going to find very fascinating. Yeah. And then the third book is the one that I experienced a lot when I was dating, Why Do Men Pull Away?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, that's a subject very near and dear to my heart because it happens so frequently. And there's a number of factors of why a man pulls away. And I think it starts with, and let's take a step back for the woman and saying, what's her expectation? You know, she might have gotten to the destination of where is it going before he has, okay? So right off the bat, if there's pressure coming from her, a man's natural reaction is to seek some escape or freedom. So that's one of the reasons why a man pulls away. The most prevalent one is that he's going through some transition in his life, okay? He's going through a job change. He's going through a divorce. He's going through some health issues. And when a man's in a transition, he's not fully capable of holding a solid we, okay? Only a man who genuinely knows his purpose in life is in a position to really hold a we, okay? So in the Why Men Pull Away 3 Ways to Bring Them Close, we identify all the different ways men pull away, and sometimes they are emotionally unavailable. I mean, for some men, they've had trauma in their life that's so significant that they just can't be as emotionally, they may not be as emotionally equipped as you'd like them to be. And that's either you're going to have to accept him for who he is or just recognize that he might need someone else. But ultimately, men are simple creatures. We want attention, we want affection, we want regular sex, we want companionship. And so long as you're on the same page as us and we're on the same page as you, we're mostly likely going to stay in. Men have a habit of nesting, N-E-S-T, nesting. We ain't going anywhere. And so most of the reason why people pull away is A, someone's coming after them, so your natural reaction is to pull away, or B, they're just not very stable yet to hold a we, and so they create space because they know they're not ready.
I am so surprised to hear you say that men are into nesting, because to me the female stereotype is the women are the ones who are into nesting and the men are the ones who want to go out there and be the hunters and so forth.
Can I jump in and clarify something?
Yeah, please.
Because I should have added this, because you're right. That would seem like the typical stereotype. What I mean by nesting, once a man is in, he ain't going anywhere. The problem is women complain because in the beginning he was so, romantic and flamboyant, and all of a sudden he nests. So basically he goes, I don't have to do any more work anymore. So, but it also means he isn't going anywhere either. That's what I meant by nesting. Whereas a woman's traditional nesting is she makes the home, she does all the work, right? So I want to clarify that terminology between the way women view it and the way a man might, be nesting in the relationship.
I'm so glad you clarified that, because I had a whole different concept. But you're absolutely right. Once they get settled in, once they're committed, in other words, once men are committed, they're very happy to stay.
They're not going anywhere. And that frustrates some women because they have an expectation of it going somewhere. And the truth is, unless you both look at the future through the same window, you're going to be in this place of stuck. And so it's having the conversations, it's having the dialogue, and also giving it enough time and space. Remember, I said earlier, if you're coming from a place of completion, that expectation is the other person completes you, you may not be the right fit for each other. Start with curiosity. Learn if you're a good fit for the long term. The average courtship, they did a study in England some years back, and it was couples between the age of 28 and 45, I believe. And they found the average length of courtship was 2.7 years. So if you're in a one-year relationship, you may be pushing it a little bit before it's time. Go through all 4 seasons. Go through, summer where it's hot. Go through the fall where you're kind of cooling off. Go through the winter where you're going to have a storm in your relationship. And then see if you refresh in the spring and get a sense if you've been able to kind of weather the 4 seasons before you really fully commit to a person.
Now, I'm still going back to this idea of the nesting because this is so fascinating to me. What would you say about men who are not faithful in a longer-term relationship? I know your area of expertise is dating, but supposing you've been dating 6, 8, 9 months, something like that, and you find out that he's been, dating other women. I mean, maybe... I know it depends on the conversation of what level of commitment you've had and all that.
Sure. Well, let me just say my clientele ranges from women that have been in brand new to dating, all the way to 5 years in relationship. I get inside the guy's head.
Okay.
So that's where I'm coming from. So if a man is in a relationship 6 months, 8 months, and he's not fully committed and he's not fully in, and you don't have exclusivity as an agreement, then I encourage my clients to stop and seek someone the people that come to me go, I want long-term commitment. So it starts with exclusivity and monogamy, in my opinion. Not on the first date, per se, exclusivity, but certainly if you're going to be intimate, I recommend monogamy. And I follow a system called C.A.R.E, C-A-R-E. And the C stands for, and this is all about intimate. This is about, sex on the first date, basically. Is first, do it. The C stands for comfortable. Have sex when you're comfortable, not because you're trying to please him, or the fact that you might lose him. Do it because it's comfortable to you. A, be aware. Be aware of the consequences. Recognize that men don't necessarily commit to just having sex, and so be aware of all the consequences associated with sex, and that includes understanding that once you have sex, there's chemicals that are released in the body, very similar to crack cocaine. And so you might be addicted to a man that may not be right for you. So be aware. Next is the R. I call it real intentions. Learn his real intentions. If you're able to figure out a guy's real intentions in 3 dates, you must be a psychic reader. Because I'm a believer that it takes about 10 dates to recognize where a man really is going with you. And so learn his real intentions. And lastly, when it comes to exclusivity, the E stands for express. Express your feelings. If exclusivity is important to you, then say it. Okay? You can say it on the first date. If it scares them away, you did yourself a favor. Okay? You did yourself a favor. Don't worry. A man who's genuinely and who cares about you, you express your feelings, he's going to honor your feelings. Right?
That is great. Very good advice. I love that you covered, everybody's got to know when they're ready to have physical intimacy, to have sex, and to discuss that. And for women, I've heard that it's not true of all women, but I think for a lot of the women, it's you get connected, you get attached once you have sex. Now, because you do have clients that are in longer-term relationships up to 5 years or so, you mentioned, I want to address this thing where in dating, everyone's on their best behavior, right? We're all trying to sell ourselves and be, really the ideal person and try to make the other person like you and all that stuff. Yeah. And then what tends to happen sometimes is you commit. Some people move in together. Some people just have a real long-term relationship. And then they realize that this person is nothing. It could take years to find out this person is nothing like you thought they were in the beginning? And is there any way to get more to the authenticity sooner, so that you know what you're getting involved with sooner? I mean, how do you deal with that?
I have to believe. Okay, so I want to jump in on that one because now, mind you, in the first 90 days of dating, you're in the chemical high. It's lust. You're going to see kind of the best self. But you know what? Almost every woman I've ever talked to, and even in my own experiences, the clues were there right in the beginning. You just didn't listen to them. Okay. Now, can I share you a funny story that just happened to me?
Okay.
Okay, this may take a minute, okay?
Sure, no problem.
And I'm recently back out in the mall, out dating, and I had a really horrific date. I've never had anything this bad in my life, and but the clues were there during our first conversation. I didn't listen to them. I realized, in just a couple things, like when I mentioned the books that I'm into, she had like a total aversion to them. There was a couple other things that she said that was kind of, that gave me clues, but I just said, oh, I'm attracted to her, and the banter's kind of fun. Let me just see, because I went curious. But in the back of my mind, I knew something wasn't right, okay? It was when I talked about personal growth, and she seemed to have like a total aversion to it. So I knew off the bat we were going to be kind of different. So we get there on the date, and we're sitting at a bar having a drink. And right off the bat, she has no eye contact with me, and she's on her phone the whole time.
Ooh.
Now, what was interesting is she text messaged me a lot before the date, so I should have clued in on that right there, but I didn't. But she was on her phone the whole time, and she didn't look me in the eye. She was like this, talking to me like this, and it bugged the heck out of me. So then I did a check-in with her. I said, look, I said something on a text message, and I felt like you pulled away, and I just want to know where you were feeling. She goes, I don't talk about feelings. I was like, holy cow, right? And then the progression just kept getting worse and worse, and pretty soon, and then there was something she shared that I wasn't interested in, and I just turned to her and said, this ain't going anywhere, is it? And she goes, nope. She then proceeds to order 2 more drinks. And I'm like, and she offered to pay, but I'm a gentleman, and I felt obligated, which in retrospect I should have accepted, only because I thought she had crossed a boundary. And so I'm just saying that the clues were there even before the date. I just didn't listen to them. How do you know there's clues? It's because when you feel an up, something's up. That's the time to check in with yourself and really, and then invite a conversation, because I would have saved myself, whether it was $60. By the way, it was the best lesson I got. And it was actually, for the $60 I spent, frankly, it's telling me I'm not ready to date. I learned that lesson, right? At least not right now. I mean, that could change, soon. But that lesson was to pay attention to the clues. Now, I went with curiosity, and that's okay. But the clues were there so glaring, and you have to put down your blinders and your projections, because I projected on her because she was attractive, and then she had some of the qualities I like, so I did a projection. Don't project. Just be passionate, detached, and curious.
Very easy to say, don't project, and so hard to apply sometimes.
Oh, damn it is. Everyone. By the way, as coaches, let me just say something to everyone. Look, our job is to help guide you and steer you in the right direction. And listen, we get it. This work isn't easy. It takes work. It takes practice. Our job is to hold your hand so you can get through it much faster, because we've been there and we know how to get a result. So that's the way we approach it. That's why these amazing coaches are here to help you get the results you see. But it also takes a willingness on your part to do the work. The heavy lifting comes from you. You can't point the finger at men and not look at, or anyone else, and not look at the 3 pointing back at you. Look within. The answers are all there. The universe wants you to succeed. You're the only one that's holding you back. And so the more you check in with self and the more connected you are, and I know we're going to be coming up on the end here. I just want to share that, love comes from our overflow. And so when we can give from our abundance from within, rather than trying to fill the cup, love will happen instantaneously for you in many ways, shapes, and forms.
Wow.
So
Jonathan, I gotta kiss you for that. It was beautiful. I love that you said all that. And you've got fantastic perspective, great insights that I know everybody can benefit from. Because, like you said, the coaches are here to support you. Sometimes it's hard to make these changes on your own. And I
Yeah.
know that our viewers would love to know how closer to work with you. So you want to tell us where we can reach you and tell us how to work with you.
Okay. Well, my website is understandmennow.com, and Understand Men Now. That's how you can get a hold of me. I've got a contact button. I got all my programs and stuff like that. I've got a blog. Through there, you can join my Facebook community. I've got a great Facebook community where I post every day, lots of content. So I would definitely click the link, press the button, fill out the form, sign up, join my email community. I got lots of great content. And I do this because I love it. I really do. I love helping women find love. I love love. I look forward to love coming back into my life. Um, and so I'm here to hold your hand. I've got your back, and I'm going to support you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We're giving you that love right now. You've got it in your life, even if it's not one-on-one.
I'm taking it all in, baby.
Thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.